Hi, everybody. Welcome to Happy Hour here live on Brews Sports. We welcome you inside the studio for another exciting edition, a very interesting and good-looking table tonight here. You'll probably notice there is a fine fellow here in the middle of us, Mr. Barry Nelson. How are you, Barry? Welcome to Happy Hour, sir.
I'm better now, and it is Happy Hour. You're making me feel awful happy. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. We're glad to have you. He's Barry Nelson. That's Teaka Griesbach over there. We've got a great show in store for you guys tonight. We know that there is some exciting things taking place in the sports world, and of course, anytime we can get a man of the knowledge of Barry Nelson on our set, we know that we are indeed ready for a good time, that's for sure, Barry. Now that I've made Barry feel as good as he needs to feel, I feel like we can finally move on now and just, that was the first. You can hand me my $100 now, Barry, and we can move forward.
I have $1.
I would take it. I mean, whatever. Your wife didn't exactly give me a price to make you feel good, so she just was like, make him feel good, and we'll figure it out later.
Well, thanks, honey. I appreciate that.
We do what we can for you. All right, folks, well, we've got a good show for you. First thing, as we always do to start off our show, it's our What's on Tap segment, and we always turn it over to you, Teaka, to give us the first lead on what is exactly on tap for our show tonight.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a little about the New Orleans loss.
New Orleans losing the first four game, not the final four, the first four game.
Yeah, I think we need to have some, have a little lesson on how to lose and not hurt your teammate.
Yeah, so kind of a strange situation here, honestly. The University of New Orleans was in their play-in game, and Barry, you're a little bit more knowledgeable about the whole first four than I am. But Mount St. Mary's were taking on New Orleans, and apparently after the game, players were so upset about losing that two players actually had a bit of an altercation. One of the guys actually kind of semi-choked his own teammate for a brief moment. I've lost games. I've been mad. I've said things and stuff when I've gotten out of a game, but it never once occurs to me to choke a teammate.
Being a former basketball coach myself, varsity basketball coach, I can understand why you'd want to choke a player, but you never do it.
No,
why would you want to make your team look bad?
Who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is the player underneath, and I want to say his last name is Gill, and pardon me,
Christavius
Gill. Yeah, yes. He got the ball down low from his teammate, the point guard, and he got called for 3 seconds, and he's like, "Give me the ball quicker, give me the ball faster." He got up in his teammate's face. His teammate shoved him, and the height differential is significant.
Yes.
So he just kind of took his hands and put him around his.
Give him a hug.
Yeah, gave him a little hug with his hands.
Neck hug.
A neck hug.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and they got into it, and they got to sit at opposite sides of the bench. But then after that, everything seemed fine except for the fact that they lost. So.
How do you address something like this if you're a program? Because obviously now everybody didn't really care much about the University of New Orleans. Now everybody knows who this team is. Everybody knows who these players are. How do you address this on going forward and just across all of college sports? Because NBA players, to my knowledge, you'll have words if you're on the same team, but very rarely do you see guys go after each other in any sport to physically do something. You'll see a guy get in your face, be like, get it together, man, or smack him on the head a little bit. But like to physically grab somebody on the neck for even, I know it was just very briefly, seems a bit much.
Yeah,
to me
especially in
personally.
front of everyone too. I mean,
exactly.
I don't know. I just think it makes your team look bad. I mean, I get that you're gonna have arguments and issues with your teammates, but I don't know. I kind of think, why would you want people to think that?
As a coach, here's what you say to deflect everything. You just say, look, heat of the moment. Mm-hmm. Everybody wanted to win. It was a very tight game. It was everybody got caught up. It's over. They're friends. You saw their interaction at the end of the game. It's over. And that's pretty much how you can deflect it as a coach. Now, as a program, going forward, you would hope that it wouldn't reflect poorly. It's just an isolated incident, but you never know.
What type of a conversation do you have with those players afterwards as someone that has been a coach? Is that a never again, or are we good? What's going on, guys?
You sit them down and you just make sure that everything's cool, and I'm sure everything was. I've had players that have yelled at each other on the floor during a game, and I mean almost got into an argument, like a straight up argument. And at halftime, I had to pull them aside and I had to have a conversation with them, and they just said, "No, it's just we want to win so bad." And pretty much that's what it comes down to, is they have that competitive drive, that competitive spirit, and you make mistakes and you're in a tight game. It's going to overwhelm you, and sometimes you let emotions get the best of you, and unfortunately for this situation, it did.
Yeah, and they think really that's what it comes down to. Is, I mean, obviously people get in the heat of the moment. You have an opportunity to play in, the greatest college, tournament basically that these kids will ever get an opportunity to play in, and you kind of see it slip away. And I get it, the heat of the moment, and just overall though, just think before you choke. Think before you grab. Basically, I mean, I know that's words to live by. Really, like think before you just decide to, cradle your hands around someone's neck. It sends a bad message.
Yeah.
It sends, for even like little kids watching now too.
Right.
I mean, how many opportunities do you might see now in youth basketball? Be like, well, those guys on TV did it, so I'm going to do it to my teammate if he gets mad to me. It's like you got to think about the wider range of things basically that go into just a moment like that.
Yeah, and he could just say, Coach, I thought he needed a massage on the front and the back of his neck.
Exactly.
So,
I've got big hands. I'm just trying to cover it all at one base, basically.
Yeah.
All right, Teaka, what else is on tap for us today?
Yeah. Baxter, you grew up in Florida, right?
I did.
When was the first time you had gone skiing?
I've actually never gone skiing,
you
fun
haven't?
fact. I haven't.
Okay.
I know. Snowboarding I did before I moved to Florida, but never gone skiing, unfortunately. I've
well-
heard it's great.
Yeah, it was super fun. I've only been a couple times myself, but I thought this was really fun because I am going to Florida tomorrow.
Woo!
So I really wanted to talk about this. But there's a lady that participated in the Special Olympics, and she skied, but she's from Florida.
Oh, okay.
So she had to practice skiing, obviously. Automatically you're going to start thinking, like, how does one just jump into skiing if they're grew up in Florida, don't know how to ski?
Not a lot of snow, from my experience.
Right, but
I've seen a lot of
apparently-
things in Florida, no snow.
Right. Apparently she practiced on the beach, on the sand.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense, though, because when you think about it, I mean, sand, even wet sand is kind of that same consistency as packed snow, but not
imagine
not a lot
when
of
you're
hills,
younger,
though.
seeing someone skiing on the beach. Wouldn't you think that's strange?
I have seen people
Really?
beach ski before. I mean, it's actually not as uncommon as you might think it is.
Sounds so weird
Just
to me.
because of it is strange. Like, there's no doubt about that, honestly. But yeah, I've seen it done before. But to use that to train for the Special Olympics, I think is
yeah, I mean,
really
what else is
remarkable.
she supposed to do?
That is the
guess.
big thing. I mean, if your family especially doesn't have the money to travel to a colder state maybe, but you still want to continue to perfect your craft as best you can, why not? The beach is a perfect area. It's not outlawed. People do all kinds of crazy stuff on the beach. They four-wheel, they drive their darn cars on there depending on where they are, but who's to say that going skiing, I mean, if you find the right hills, obviously, you can certainly take advantage of that for
Yeah,
sure.
I suppose. It's very true. I think people just thought it was strange that they, heard two people from Florida that were, on a team to ski. It's just weird that they're from Florida.
And now are you going to go beach skiing since you're going to Florida tomorrow?
Probably not, but
You never know.
Keep an eye out for
I was
people.
going to say, keep an eye out for it now because you have probably never seen it. Now you're going to see the
That's
beach
so
skiing
true.
world championships now or
Yeah.
something. It's going to be right at the same beach of where you're located.
I'll still take a picture or video, send it to you if I see
Please.
something.
That would be funny. Are you a skier at all, Barry?
No, not a skier, not a snowboarder, which is ironic because we live in the land of snow.
Yeah.
And
do.
I used to snowmobile. I had my
sure.
snowmobile lessons
I enjoy
when I was a
snowmobiling.
kid.
I did too.
And that was fun, but never could get up on skis. Don't like water skis, don't like snow skis.
I tried water skiing once. It was bad.
I tried that
very
too.
badly. I will not do it again.
We used to have we used to have boogie boards, and we used to do
Oh,
the
sure.
boogie boarding thing in the tubing. I love
Yep.
doing that, but if I have to stand up and I actually have to use my leg muscles to keep myself up
Actually
on top
try.
of a surface and actually try it, it's too much effort. I'm there to relax, so
That's the
especially if I'm going to a beach, I'm going to relax.
Right. No, I completely agree with you on that one. I mean, you want to relax. You just want to have a good old time while you're out there, honestly. I mean, skiing is fun, but I did a lot of tubing as a kid, getting dragged behind the boat. That certainly for me was the thing that I love the most about being able to get out to the beach in general. I mean, still do it as a kid too, or still do it now as an adult, not necessarily just even as a kid. But it's kind of terrifying as well too, the whole crack the whip sort of thing. When you get outside the wig, you're
Yeah.
like, dear God, this is it. I'm done. I don't weigh very much. Fun fact, if you guys didn't know, I only weigh 162 pounds. So that's with 5 layers of clothes on and a parka and rain boots.
We're not revealing our weights here, are we?
You don't have
No.
to.
Thank you.
No. My name is Baxter, 6'1", 162. All right, ding, there we go. But so when I get outside that current, I've become very religious because I'm praying.
Yeah, I would
dear God,
never.
please don't.
I always
please
got
don't.
too scared. I always only went tubing if my dad was driving the boat because I knew he would be careful and not whip me
That's
too
now Not my dad.
Not
either.
my dad.
Yeah.
No, he's like, woo! He's like, how fast can I dump you? I'm like, Dad.
My dad was pretty sadistic like that too. He wanted to see. He wanted to take me over waves and see how high we could get in the air.
Oh, the worst is
we were 8 years old.
Another boat like comes flying by, and you all see him veer to go into their wake, and you're like, boom, boom, boom. And
You
you're
see
like,
it coming, you're like, oh God,
yeah,
oh God,
and
oh
you're just
God.
like, do I roll off and hold, or just do I try? And like, by the time you even get to that point, you mentally you're done.
Yeah.
No chance at that point. But I love a good tube here and there. All right, Barry, you, as you probably know, are excited about college basketball.
Can't wait. We got our show coming up after this. Yes,
I know.
we have our show coming up after this.
You've
We're
got
excited.
kind of a unique thing taking place on the show tonight as well, too. What is going on with you and Ryan Thies?
We have 3 NCAA basketball insider correspondents coming on our show all at once. We're going to have
Holy
a
cow.
panel discussion, and we have 4 segments. We're going to break down each region of the bracket. Going to talk game by game. Going to make our picks. And it's going to be fascinating. And I want, when we do start, I want people to, message us their Final Four picks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see how well they think that they know basketball compared to our insiders. So we're going to have 3 insiders, 2 from Michigan, one that covers Michigan and one that covers Michigan State. And then we're going to have Christian Heimel back. He was on our show last week, and he's going to be he's going to be our guru of the mid-majors and the low seeds and stuff like that. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be innovative. We're going to try and do some things that we haven't done here before. So stay tuned. Yeah, we're excited. We're
Sounds really fun.
unbelievably excited. Can't wait.
So I'm assuming you filled out your bracket. Then you've got yourself all good to go.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've had virtually everybody else from around the country on Brew Sports to talk about their brackets, aside from the gentleman that actually hosts the college show on Brew Sports. So I feel like you need to give us a little bit of insight to what you're doing. Obviously, I know you're going to talk more in depth about it tonight on your show, but what are your thoughts about the round of 64? I know we're obviously weeding through a couple of the teams now with those first 4 games or the first 2 games that have been played, but your thoughts about this year's field?
I think it's pretty even. I like there are a lot of low seeds. I know a lot of people around here in our state have talked about misseeding Wisconsin and stuff like that. I think the only thing we need to know about that, or the only thing people are complaining about that, is because Minnesota got a 5 seed. I'm fine with Wisconsin.
That is a big thing.
I'm okay with Wisconsin getting an 8 seed, and I'll elaborate more on that. But I think there's a lot more parity. I think there's it's a lot closer than a lot of other years have been. Last year, as we know, Villanova, it came down to a last-second shot. I have a feeling it's going to come down to a lot of last-second shots in these games, especially when you get some of these 12, 13, 10, 11, 12, 13 seeds. It's not going to be as it's not going to be as wide a margin as it usually is. Usually you see with a 4-13, you usually see the 4 beating the 13 by about 15 points.
Yeah, usually.
You're going to have some of these 13 seeds, and I'm looking at particularly the Vermont-Purdue game. I think that one's going to be very, very close. I don't see a 16-1 upset. It's never happened before, and I don't think it's going to happen this year. Even though Mount St. Mary's with Junior Robinson.
Hey, good on them. Good for them.
Junior Robinson is just tremendous. He's 5'5".
He's a fun guy to watch.
I was living in North Carolina at the time that he was playing high school, and
really?
I remember seeing the press release saying that Junior Robinson was named Mid-State 3A All-State Player of the Year, and I'm like. He's 5'5".
Like, what is he doing?
Yeah, and he went to Mount St. Mary's, and he's obviously thriving there. But
he's figured it out.
He has, but I don't. There's going to be some upsets. I don't see 4 number 1 seeds making it. I don't even see 3 number 1 seeds making it. It hasn't. We've only had 3 or more number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four 20 times in the last, I want to say, 70 years. Something like that.
Yeah, there's been, I feel like, the 1 seeds overall, though, I feel like people get so hyped about, like, oh my gosh, you're a 1 seed like that. Realistically, I feel like I don't ever want to be a 1 seed.
Yeah.
No. Well, actually, it says in the last 20 years, a number 1 seed has made the Final Four every year except for 2006. So we are going to have a number 1 seed in the Final Four. I can guarantee you that. It's just a matter of which 1 or 2.
Shoot. Teaka's bracket is now.
She's got a 7, a 14, an 8, and a 3.
She's got a 24 seed. Like, I don't understand what she was pulling. I think Teaka should talk to us about her bracket.
I think she should. I think she should reveal, especially the right side of your bracket. I find that one interesting.
All right. I have in my Final Four Duke, Arizona, and the interesting part, Iowa State and UCLA.
What is the thought behind Iowa State? I was curious. You mentioned that before we went on the air. I was curious about what your thought process was behind Iowa State.
Honestly, I just that one. No, I don't know. I really don't have a specific reason why I picked who I did.
My nephew
went
would.
with my gut.
You like the odds.
My nephew would say, "Well, the Cyclone can suck up a Jayhawk, so I think the Cyclones are going to win."
That's how some people do it.
They
They're
do.
like, I battle the mascots and see who wins.
Or my favorite colors.
That's funny.
I actually had a female colleague when I was doing this a few years ago pick her favorite colors, and ironically, she got all 4 of the Final Four teams right.
Wow.
Just based on color. So there is no rhyme or reason. There is no rhyme or reason to picking out a bracket, to filling out a bracket. It's going to happen how it happens. It's just a matter of can you foresee what could happen. Now you may be right. Iowa State, somebody like that, a Florida, somebody on SMU, a number 6 seed, could get into the Final Four, but there's no real rhyme or reason to filling out a bracket. There was an interesting piece on ESPN. They had all the experts say, "How do you fill out a bracket?" And one guy says, "You just flip a coin and then pick either Duke or Kentucky."
Yeah,
that's all you can do. And one guy said you fill out a ton of brackets. Another guy said you fill out one bracket. It's for me. You can look at the numbers all you want, but when it comes down to it, it comes down to why playing the games. And that's all it is.
Why are people so obsessed with March Madness?
Because it's a way for people to get away from reality for a little bit. I know for me, there were a couple of years where I would actually take off work Thursday and Friday and just watch basketball all day. Now, luckily, my other job this year, I have Friday off, so I don't have to take a vacation day. But I'm not taking Thursday off. But usually there were times when I would take Thursday and Friday off, and it was just a break, just that, to be able to watch the underdog, to be able to watch that first, those first few games, and to get real excited and to say, hey, I watched the entire tournament, or I saw this game, or I saw this game, and to be able now, between True TV and TBS and TNT, all those,
so many ways to watch.
Yeah, you got so many different channels, and they're like, okay, well, if you flip over to True TV, there's this game, and then you just keep flipping, and it's really cool, and it's very interactive, especially with the brackets. So many people have chances to win prizes. I think that's what really grabs a lot of people.
How many times too do you see, especially on like opening day, people have like a monitor here, a laptop here, their phone here,
right,
their iPad. Their neighbor's dog has a screen trap, taped to them as well too. But it's kind of funny though how many people get so into it. And I don't mind it. I do enjoy March Madness. It's not that I don't, but I guess everybody has their niche. Like when the World Cup is on, I'm all in on the World Cup. But when the Super Bowl playoffs, like for the NFL, I'm all in for that. But for college basketball, like I said, I don't mind it. I think it's interesting. It's just not my first thing. It's not my first thought that I get excited about.
Doesn't it kind of get you hyped up, though, like seeing everyone else get all,
absolutely.
hearing about it, seeing it on social media? It's a fun time, even if you're not totally into it,
Exactly, and I think that's the big thing
like,
about it is I'm always just like, I find myself wanting to play more like pickup basketball in the month of March just because everyone's talking about basketball, and maybe that's just kind of like when people start talking about, I got the new iPhone. Like you hear about the same thing over and over. You're like, maybe I should get the new iPhone. People keep talking about basketball in March Madness. Like, well, maybe I should do that. Like everyone else is doing it. I don't want to be that guy kind of thing. But
I mean, last night there was no rooting interest for me in Mount St. Mary's, New Orleans, and K-State and Wake Forest. There was absolutely no rooting interest for me whatsoever.
Sure.
But I sat there and I watched the games. Because I wanted to see, not only because I host a show and I need to talk about it, but because I love college basketball and the underdogs can win all the time. Mm-hmm. There's no chance. There's always a fighter's chance for somebody.
Yes,
and it would be so boring if that weren't the case.
Yeah, exactly.
If the one seeds always got to the Final Four, everybody like, well, why do we care?
What's the point?
It doesn't make any difference to me. If
there's always that George Mason or that Cinderella team that can come out. And last year there was really no Cinderella team that came out that was like an 11 or 12 seed, but it can happen, and that's I think what people love about it. And I know my significant other, my wife, she's like, oh man, all you do is watch basketball this time of year, and it's true. She lets
me. Does she like watching basketball?
She'll watch Wisconsin. Her brother goes to Madison. And so we like Scotty. She might watch a little bit of Marquette, but realistically, she'll watch it just because I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Which, I
That's
give her
kinda how my wife is with
I give
football and
her
soccer,
credit
too.
for it. And she's more into football and watching the Packers and stuff like that.
Understandable.
And, unfortunately, though, and I give her credit. Like I said, I love her to death, and she'll put up with me during this season, and she knows that she's a big awards season person. She loves the Oscars. Okay,
Who doesn't?
And I'll sit there and I enjoy watching the Oscars, and I think she does get some joy out of being able to. We can spend time together and just watch basketball, even if there's not a rooting interest.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's how my wife is with sports as well too. I mean, she enjoys the Packers. She enjoys soccer as a whole, and when there's a game on and she knows that I'm watching it, she likely will sit down with me and cheer on as well too. My favorite is when she'll come up to me and be like, "Did you see what happened?" I hadn't heard about it yet, and I'm like,
Whoa.
"Whoa,
That's awesome.
Like, that's awesome!" Like, she was the one that instigated us filling our brackets out this year. She's like, "Are we filling our brackets out?" I was like, "Well, absolutely, yeah. Like, let's do it." She's like, "Let's go." So she was stoked to be able to fill out her bracket in time, and she's excited about it. She's got Duke winning it all, so we'll have to see.
As do I.
I know. So I don't know if there's a Miss America organization like sisterhood tie here, or what exactly is going on between my wife and
There's gotta
Teaka
be.
here, but we'll have to see.
We're feeling the same thing.
Can't bring myself to pick Duke even to get to the Final Four. And that's
We
all I'm
shall
going to
see.
say. That's all I'm going to say, teasing my bracket. So
There you
you're going
go.
to have to tune in from 5 to 6.
Hashtag no Duke, I guess, for Barry on the
Hashtag
bracket.
know
Grayson
that.
Allen trips or sucks.
Somebody
Whichever.
has a bracket. I need to look because I feel like we need to just briefly talk about some of the names that people have put for their brackets in the Brew Sports Bracket Challenge. If you haven't signed up yet, you still can. It's you can sign up for free. First place wins $100. Second place gets a date with Barry. Third place, Teaka will make you dinner. Everybody wins, no matter really who you are. I mean,
By the way, you're paying if you get second place. I'm
yes,
not paying.
exactly. I've tried to pawn a date off for second place for everybody, and they're always like, "Yeah, if they pay." I'm like, "Good Lord, like, come on, why do the winners have to pay, basically?" But you get a T-shirt, the Brew Sports T-shirt, which Teaka is sporting so perfectly.
Very nice.
Second and third place get the Brew Sports T-shirts. First place, 100 big smackaroos, all in pennies. So we'll deliver them to you penny by penny over the course of it's
exciting.
kind of like LeVar Ball. We don't have to give you the $100 all at once, like the $1 billion. We'll give it to you, in payment plans over the next 10 years, basically. So by that time, the interest will have also escalated as well. But a couple of the funny brackets here that we've got. Some people have it. One of them is called the Horizon League runner-up. Somebody has Brack City. FGCU Fan Club, the best bracket, On the Bubble, Back to Dunk City, Baxter's Best Shot. I can't believe somebody's name was Baxter. Grayson Allen's Next Victim. That's one of my favorite ones. Another one has Sweep the Leg Grayson. People love Grayson, apparently. King James version, must be a pastor or somebody. Full Metal Bracket.
That's mine, actually.
Oh, well, there
Full
you
Metal
go.
Bracket. I was thinking of something clever, and Full Metal Jacket came to mind, and
I
I
like
was
that.
Full Metal Bracket. I like Papa Giorgio.
Papa Giorgio.
That's my
That's a
favorite.
good one.
That's a Vegas vacation reference.
I like
Nick
that.
Papa Giorgio from Yuma.
Homer Bracket. Somebody's got one. March Sadness.
That's pretty
Somebody's
clever, too.
got
March
Captain
Sadness.
Floppy's Break It. I like that one.
Now we gotta get Josh Scheibe to come up with a little bit better.
I know.
He's just got
It's
Scheibe.
Scheibe. But his name is Game Master Scheibe. But I
That's
get
true.
that. But, come on. Josh, if you're watching, you're better than that.
Yes.
We expect better from
We
the Game
expect
Master
a lot
Scheibe.
more.
We expect a great pun of some sort. It's because you are like the pun master when it comes to introducing me on What's the Score. So get on that. Otherwise, you're fired. No, you're not. You're fired. Please don't leave.
You have it. You have the right to do that, though.
I do. It's my show. I do what I want. No, it's Josh's show as well. All right, transitioning out of the basketball world because we know you and Ryan are going to just love that so much tonight here in about 35 minutes, which is kind of
Absolutely,
exciting.
yeah.
Teaka, you've got a fun story, or not necessarily, a thought-provoking story about the U.S. women's hockey team
Yeah,
and the
not so
world
much
champions that are coming up, basically.
Yeah.
What's going on with the hockey team that, as many folks know, is exceptionally talented and usually always dominates the hockey world?
Yeah, definitely. They're saying they don't want to participate in the World Championship for some pretty good reasons.
Okay.
But I think that's just crazy. But there's been no progress made to secure their wages.
Oh, it's a wages issue.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting because the U.S. women's soccer team has also been fighting the wage battle for a long time as well, and the fact that it's carrying over across to now another women's professional sport is interesting. Is this a trend that I feel like we're starting to see now with women's professional sports continues, that we know that the WNBA players don't make as much. Obviously, I totally get that, but as the NBA players do. But even though they continue to excel at a high level, why is this? Why do we continue to have women so underpaid, and especially women that are doing exceptionally well in their sport, no matter how you slice it, really?
Right. I don't know. I mean, I think that they definitely deserve more support, and they're really making a statement. I mean, when I saw this, I was like, I don't know. I think that's crazy.
What they say, they make $1,000 a month?
Something like that. Like, I make more than $1,000 a month, and I don't play professional sports.
Me too. And, well, I should be making more considering what
I wasn't sure if you were being right there or not.
No,
Me too.
I do. And, for the amount of money that I make, which is a little bit more than what they make, I have trouble making ends meet sometimes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't only imagine how little they feel like they're contributing to their family, saying, "Oh, here, honey, here's my $1,000 for the month."
And when you compare it to other athletes in other sports, it's just insane how different it is.
Well, and they've won, 6 out of the last 8 gold medals? Is that what the article said, I think? Yeah, and it was just, for them to be at the top of their game and to be getting paid very little. And USA Hockey is expecting them to go and perform some 60 times out of the year. And USA Hockey doesn't pay out barely anything except for an Olympic year.
Well, and that's even how it works with the women's soccer team as well. The ladies only get paid if they win, which I think is kind of crazy. Like, you can play all of their friendlies, all the tournaments, but you only get paid if you win. Whereas the men get paid no matter what. Like, you could lose 12 goals to 0. Well, you guys are still going to get paid, no big deal. If you're the women, you have to win or you don't get paid. Sounds a little cruel to me. It sounds like, not slavery, but it just sounds like, the old school thinking where it's like, oh, you only get fed if you win kind of a thing, or you only, you get paid if you only sell 100 things, whatever.
Just because you don't win doesn't mean you're not giving it your all. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, I don't understand that, honestly. So, well, are other teams threatening to do this as well too at the tournament, or is this just Team USA that's saying, you know what, we're just not going to go because we don't feel like we're being paid well enough to participate?
That's a good question.
I think they were the only one. They were having negotiations between their lawyer and USA Hockey, and it just didn't seem like anything was going to come about.
Yeah. Kind of a weird situation.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye on that, of course, and see if this continues to be a bigger trend. And maybe this is my lack of WNBA knowledge, but has there ever been wage disputes in the WNBA that you know of?
Absolutely.
There have been. Okay.
Yeah,
I would assume so.
Because some of these WNBA players make $30,000-$40,000 a year, which is why they go overseas, because overseas in their off season they'll get paid $100,000-$200,000 a year for playing overseas. So they supplement their income by going and playing overseas. So there is a big discrepancy between WNBA players and the NBA. I mean, it's insane how little they get paid. And I think if they got, but then again, if they got paid like the guys got paid, I think the league would fold, because I don't think it's quite as popular here. But I know overseas they're they're gods over there, or goddesses.
It's crazy how much of a difference there is.
It is.
Why is that? Is it just the thinking of the United States compared to what the Europeans do?
I have no idea.
That's always my big thing with soccer too. Or even baseball too. We saw with Manny Ramirez. These guys are playing their sport, and then they get to the tail end of their career, and they're like, "Well, I'm going to go to China and make $80 million now." Even though I know I'm not worth $80 million anymore, but this Chinese team is going to pay me insane amount of money to play just because the Asians love a good show.
I think a part of it is that they are bringing in a name, and they know that name is going to sell tickets.
Yes.
And that name is going to bring the fans, and it's going to make them a lot of money, so they can pay up front or, backload their contract. So they, once they do make all that money in the revenue and in the ticket sales and the concessions and all that, they're going to have that money to pay for, their players.
Well, it's the Tim Tebow effect is really what it is.
Pretty much.
Why is Tim Tebow, aside from being an okay baseball player, getting all this other national televised games? It's because it's going to put fans in seats, and the Mets are profiting off of this, and I'm sure those Tebow jerseys have been selling like, hotcakes off of the Mets, store as well too, and they're like, well, this is the greatest thing we could have ever done. It doesn't matter if he doesn't play a single minute. Like, people love Tim Tebow. They're going to buy his jersey no matter what.
Right.
Which is a little surprising, but people love the player. They don't necessarily love the team as much. I mean, how many times did you I ended up adapting my favorite soccer team because of the player that I liked, but you find your favorite players growing up though, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I really loved Michael Jordan, and like, well, okay, I became a Bulls fan because I like Michael Jordan or whatever, but people pick their players that they hone in or they relate to, because then those are your heroes as well too. Like, you have the posters on your wall and stuff too, like, I want to be like whoever, and one day I will be that person. It's like, oh, they play for Charlotte. I guess I'll keep an eye on what Charlotte's doing, and then, as that person retires, then you are faced with that decision. It's like, well, I followed this team now for 10 years or whatever, how long the player was there. It's like, do I continue to follow that team, or do I just go away now because my favorite player's gone, kind of a thing, which I feel like can go a couple of different ways, really.
Well, you would have loved my family. I was a big Walter Payton fan.
Oh, sure.
In the middle of Green Bay country when my grandparents had Green Bay Packers season tickets.
Perfect idea.
So yeah, I was kind of ostracized from my family for a good,
couple of years.
Yeah, a few years early on in my life.
Did you have a jersey?
Yeah, actually I did have a jersey. I have several pictures of it, and as soon as he retired in '87, I switched right over to the Packers, and luckily Don Mikowski came in, and the Packers were good again. So didn't really have any
have to worry
bad
too much
times.
about
Yeah,
it,
but I mean, I still there are those players that you do follow, and when it was baseball, it was Darryl Strawberry for me. I don't know what it was about Darryl Strawberry. I loved him, and I followed him, whether he was in New York, Los Angeles, wherever he went. That's where I followed, and I can see the same thing for you in soccer.
And that's kind of even how it is. Like, I'm not a huge basketball fan, but I just enjoy the integrity and the player that is Steph Curry. I'm not a Warriors fan. I support the Milwaukee Bucks, if one can support said team, I guess, on a national level, but I enjoy the character and the off-court things that Steph Curry does as well too, with his charities and just his overall Christian faith that he emulates as well in all that he does, which I think is really cool. But am I going out tomorrow to buy all the Warriors gear that I can find? No, I'm not. But I enjoy Steph Curry and will continue to cheer for him as a person and as a player. But I'm not going to sell my soul and be a Warriors fan just because I think Steph Curry's one of the best players I've ever seen in my life. It just kind of depends, I guess. It depends on the person. I totally get that.
It's kind of like how I dance for the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll always support the Milwaukee Bucks. I'll always love the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yes.
Kind of like that.
But like if you had been like if the Houston Rockets had been like, come dance for us, Teaka, and be like, well, I like the Bucks though. Right. But like you're not going to an extent bite the hand that feeds you.
Right.
I mean, how many times do you hear professional players too be like, well, I grew up in Florida, but I mean the Chicago Cubs want me to play for them. Well, absolutely, I'm going to go play for so I have a job. But I've always been a Marlins fan as a kid, kind of a thing. Yeah, but. You see that all the time. That's why there's always such a big deal about the people that go home. Like, oh, I'm from Kansas City. I get to finally play for the Chiefs now. Like, this is such a great moment for me, kind of a thing. It's like, okay, good for you, kind of a thing. Last thing I want to talk about is something that has to do with the great state of Texas, causing some not so great things to take place, depending on how you look at it. If you haven't heard, the Texas Senate has passed what is being called the bathroom bill, which basically says that people are required to use the bathroom of their designated birth. And that is causing a lot of fire, basically, because this was also passed in North Carolina, which ultimately ended up seeing a lot of backlash because of the NBA All-Star Game that got pulled from there, got put in New Orleans. The NFL, the NBA, Lady Gaga. We've seen numerous bands basically be like, to heck with you, North Carolina. I'm not going to tour or play or whatever there. And now Texas has also started to adapt this as well. And Texas is not exactly a small little hub. This isn't Rhode Island we're talking about. This is Texas that has Dallas and San Antonio and massive hubs of entertainment and sports. What are your thoughts when you hear something like this, like Texas now getting on board with this bathroom bill, basically?
Go ahead.
I don't know. I think that it's a very difficult situation, and I think that it's a good thing that we're doing something about it, and there's a rule now, and it has to be followed. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean,
do you support the bill? Do you think it's a good idea that people should have to go to the bathroom in their, birth gender? If that's, I guess, the way how you say it.
I mean, I don't know. It's such a hard. I can't decide yet, I guess.
Okay.
But like I said, I think it's great that you basically make a rule and stick with it. I mean, I feel like you need to do that. Otherwise, there's always going to be the controversy of like, well,
of course,
is it okay? Is it not okay? So I think this is a good step. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not close with anyone that has gone through the process. So I feel like, I mean, even it's funny because this totally connects with, like, even in class, we have discussion posts about transgender and stuff like that. And one of the one of my classmates had posted saying her cousin was transgender. And
interesting.
so I just think it'd be a different level if I knew someone and was close to someone like that, where I was like, okay, now I have another view. But you know what I mean? It's just
Yes,
hard when
yep.
you're not close. You don't really have the experience or go
It
through
is.
it
It's
with
hard to
someone.
speak on something like this when you yourself are not, to an extent, personally affected. Like where you hear even things about like segregation or that stuff. Like if you're not of African American descent or an Asian or whoever is being segregated against, like if you as a white person have never had to deal with that, you're like, I don't know what this is like. If you're married to somebody then or something like that crosses the line, you're like, okay, I get an idea now. But like you said, I'm in the same boat as you.
Yeah.
I don't know any transgender people, so that is
Right.
hard for me to relate as well in that
Do you have a
regards.
strong opinion?
Not transgender, but this is the history teacher coming out in me.
Please.
Awesome.
You had mentioned, you had referenced African Americans and
Yeah.
their struggles and stuff like that, and you equated it to this. And in a way, it's similar, but I think a lot of what Texas and North Carolina are trying to do is trying to get rid of the confusion. Because there are some people, and I hate to say this, but there are some people that are bad people and will say, "Oh, I'm a guy, or I translate as I was born male, but I identify as a female, so therefore I should go into the female
Right.
bathroom," when
And
they
that will
really
cause issues.
don't. And
Yes.
there are those kind of perverts out there.
Unfortunately.
I hate to use that
You're
word.
right, though.
Yeah, and
You're absolutely right.
I think that's
a
what
good
these.
point.
I think that's what these guys and that's what these legislators are trying to get after, is to make sure that there's no there's nothing that is ambiguous about the law. They don't want there to be anything out there that says, "Oh, well, there's a loophole" or something like that.
Right.
This guy can use the bathroom. They want clear-cut facts. They want clear-cut law that says this is what has to be done. And I think they're just trying to get rid of the ambiguity and everything that is now we're dealing with transgender. We dealt with, like you said, African Americans. We dealt with Asian Americans in World War II. We dealt with Latin Americans.
I was going to say that's been a more hot topic recently. It's been the Latin American population.
Absolutely, and I think it's just a matter of them wanting to get rid of the ambiguity and try of the law. And I don't have a opinion one way or the other. I think to make a law clear cut is great.
I agree.
Who it favors, I don't really have an opinion on that, because I do have friends that are in the LGBT community, and I love them to death. They're some of my closest friends, but and I hate to see them get discriminated against. But if it's going to be a clear cut law, and it's not going to be something that is really going to be all that big of a deal, I guess, I shouldn't say it, because it is a big deal to them. It's a big deal, and you don't want to.
It is, yeah.
You don't want to knock it or anything like that. But I think, like I said, the biggest thing they're trying to do is get rid of it and make it get rid of ambiguity and make it a clear-cut law.
Yeah.
Whether you identify as a female and you were born a male, whether you identify as a male and you were born a female, I think you should have to. Go to. You should make that clear-cut law. Now, there may be a state that comes out that says, "Hey, you can go to whatever bathroom you feel comfortable in," or we have transgender bathrooms, or whatever it is, or we have transgender. But until that happens, you're going to come across a lot of backlash. You're going to come across a lot of these laws they're trying to make, and I think as we move forward, state legislatures are going to see what's happened in the past, and they're going to learn from that. Like we always learn from our mistakes, and we always try and make things better. So I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you on that sense as well, too. I mean, you make a lot of really great points overall, Barry, and I think that really, the big reason that we're only talking about it, because people are probably, if you're just tuning in, you're like, why are you talking about this? It's from the sports world, too, because the NFL, the NBA have come out in negative fashion against this, saying like, well, why are you doing this? Like, why are you forcing people to be into a mold, basically? So, and that's even brought backlash against those leagues as well, too, being like, well, what, you don't support the transgenders? What, you do support, like, oh, I don't know if I want to support a league that, likes the fact that a male can become a female and vice versa,
Exactly.
and all that other
and
stuff.
we were just talking about the whole wrestler, what's his name, Mac Beggs, I think it was?
Yeah, I think, yep.
We were just talking about that, and it's, I agree with you. I think it's great. They need to, obviously people are going to be upset on both ends of the spectrum, but I
You're
think
never going
it's
to be
good.
able to please anybody.
Exactly.
Everybody.
I think it's good
Right.
to just make a decision and stick with it, and that's going to be what it is.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right about that one. So, all right, well, we are going to wrap things up here on Happy Hour today. A little bit all over the place today in terms of everything. And a quicker show, obviously, but when you've got a marquee show like College Road Trip coming up next, you got to make sure you've got all your bells and whistles properly aligned, of course. So a special thanks to you, Barry, for jumping on today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be back with you on Friday, filling in for Teaka.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Enjoying the sun.
Yes, Teaka, I'm sure, will be sending us pictures poolside, being like, oh, it's so terrible here. I wish I was there. Be like, oh, stop. And be like, you don't wish you were here in 12-degree weather.
Well, just make some comments. Just
comment
on Facebook.
Yes, yep, exactly. So a special thanks to all of you that watched and commented. A reminder, go and sign up for our NCAA Bracket Challenge as well, too. You can go to ESPN.com under the Tournament Challenge and search just for Brew Sports Network. We will also have a link here in the description as well shortly, so you can go and click on that as well, too. $100 first prize, second and third place. You get a great Brew Sports T-shirt, which is fantastic. Make sure you go and sign up today if you have not already. Thank you to the already over like 30 to 40. I think we've already had like over 40 or 50 people sign up as well, too. So we've had just a great response to start this off. So thank you to you. Thank you to all of to both of you as well, too. Teaka, we will miss you. We'll see you next week.
Can't wait.
At some point. So safe travels to you. Get some rest, relax, just soak up the sun, basically.
Thank you.
So, all right, for Teaka Griesbach and Barry Nelson, I am Baxter Colburn. We'll see you guys next time on Happy Hour. Coming up next, it is the College Road Trip right here at 5 p.m. Central Time. Make sure to catch Barry Nelson and Ryan Thies right here on Brew Sports Network. We'll see you guys next time on Brew Sports. Have a great rest of your day.